Catch-22, also known from time to time as the Sex Machine Band, and most recently the foundation for the Fan Band, Feed Arizona and Africa Now, an organization here in Phoenix that is very much on the order of USA for Africa, but featuring local radio, TV, and media personalities, as well as our nationally known stars that live here in the Valley, such as Jack Blades from Night Ranger, Glenn Campbell, and Rob Halford from Judas Priest, just to name a few of the celebs involved. Catch-22 being the composers of the song Hear Your Heart, which is the spearhead of the organization's fundraising efforts. Quite an impressive background for four gentlemen only in their early 20s, but that's just a quick sketch of the guys that we'll get to know better in the next half hour. Catch-22 is Lee Corley, drums and backing vocals, Dan Calderon, bass and backing vocals, Mike Waldrop, guitars and vocals, and Steve Parrish, guitars, keyboards, and vocals. Good evening, you guys, and thanks for coming by the studio. Let's lay a foundation here. We need to go into a brief history of the band so that everybody knows where you came from, and don't lay on the part about me in a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear any of that stuff.
Mary Moppets?
Well, close. Washington High School, wasn't it?
We'll let Lee take this one. He's a founding member, so...
I was back in junior year at Washington. Dan Calderon and I were playing in a band together, just as a rhythm section at the time, because we couldn't find anybody that...
Well, you did have guitarists and other things in the band, didn't you?
Yeah, we did, but we couldn't find anybody that we really wanted, or that was up to the part.
Actually, Dan started off as a guitarist.
Oh, really?
He wasn't our bass player before. It was actually, he was the guitar player and Lee was the drummer.
And then didn't he decide that there was a little more to life than rock and roll?
He got himself into financial problems. He had to get a real job.
He had nasty habits like eating and paying bills and stuff like that.
A few other habits that
we try to stay away from.
Yeah.
No, actually, he left for a while and pursued a real career. And we kept going. We got Mike Waldrop in to take his place on guitar. By that time, I had already been in there playing guitar also. And we had another bass player from another school.
Well, you Steve, and Mike were basically in competing bands for a while. And when Mike got into the band, wasn't it there kind of like a rivalry between the two of you? What happened with that? How did you overcome that? Or how did you guys actually end up in the same band together?
It was actually before we ever met. There was a rival that we didn't create, but everyone else did.
Yeah. Have you heard Steve Parrish? And vice versa. And that's all I ever heard. So I had to eventually hear him.
It's typical high school soap opera. But we finally met about sophomore or junior year, and we realized we had more in common than opposite. We realized we were both songwriters and both guitarists and singers, and it just
at the time, though, we were more guitar players. We had to move our way up to be singers, and that came later on. That's when Catch-22 formed, and we got Danny back.
Well, you weren't Catch-22 to begin with either. What was the first name of the band?
A Long Glance.
And that was Tick, Tick, Tock, back in the studio once again with Catch-22, also known as the Sex Machine Band. Working with Dave Pratt must be some sort of fun, huh?
Our moms love it.
The Wild One cast a rather large shadow. What's the positives? What's the negatives of working with Dave Pratt and being the Sex Machine Band?
Well, first off, I'd have to say that doing that gives us the opportunity to be almost two different bands at the same time, because you've got a chance to show your serious side, which we do when we open shows as Catch-22, and then go out with Dave, and you get to show your more your humorous side. And not a lot of bands get a chance to do that. You actually have a dual identity doing something like that.
Now, you've also played and gotten to play in front of like 5,000 people with large PA systems and video screens and all the theatrics involved with the Dave Pratt Show, which a lot of local bands don't get to do.
Well, it gives you a chance to get out in, instead of a bar atmosphere, a concert atmosphere, which is like on-the-job training. That's what you're going to be doing later.
Right.
And it's
small level of what's going to happen to us.
Yeah, maybe. And that's more what you need to do. It's a completely different thing playing in front of 200 people in a small bar on a weekend than playing in front of a crowd of 5,000. There's a different approach you have to take with it.
You've also had the opportunity to record an album and work a lot of long hours in a 24-track recording studio. So, again, local bands don't get the opportunity to do that without either making themselves go bankrupt or whoever's backing them.
Yeah.
What's
That's a real neat thing it's a neat opportunity that we're lucky enough to have that's going to do nothing but help us out in the future.
Because you got hours of studio time behind you. That's real hard to do in a town like this, especially with the prices of recording time. Is get 300 or 400 hours behind you of studio time is real tough to do. But
You have to have it. You really, by being in the studio, we look back to the first time we were in, and it was we see all our mistakes real clearly.
and obviously you must have grown more comfortable with that, which is only going to help your music grow, right?
Yeah, actually, even some of the songs you're hearing tonight as Catch-22 were some of our first recordings, and some of the ones we did with Dave Pratt are some of our later ones. So you can actually hear a maturing process between some of what you'll hear tonight and some of the Sex Machine songs.
Older
believe it
music,
or not.
Other than the lead singer, right?
Yeah.
It leaves a little something to be desired.
Not to say it's mature, but...
Minimum wage, that's the life for me. Minimum wage, that's the life for me.
Back in the studio once again with the Sex Machine Band, also known as Catch-22 here. And basically that's what we're talking about. I've got a very, very serious question right now, you guys. We've all gotten into rock and roll and the record or rock and roll industry for basically the same thing, and that, of course, is to meet women.
The women here.
Girls.
Yeah. And what I would like to know is, do you meet more women as the Sex Machine Band or as Catch-22?
I think we'd have to say the Sex Machine Band, but we're still working on Lee. Lee doesn't get any, so...
I don't get anything.
He wouldn't know what to do.
Actually, we come out as Catch-22 and they see us as nice, and then we come out as the
Sweet,
Sex
innocent.
Machines and they see us as sleazy.
Yeah.
So I guess you'd have to
That
say
could work
so.
to your advantage. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's,
kind of two mints in one. The Doubleman twins here. Oh, you guys are okay.
One track mind.
About yeah, that's true. Most of us are that way. There's three main drives in
Look
life.
at Dave.
Four main drives in life: rock and roll, sex, food, and money, and not necessarily in that order. It depends. A few weeks back, actually about a week and a half ago, we went to Pantheon Recording Studio, and we recorded here a very, very rare, I'm sure in the next couple of years will most likely become a collector's item, the Barry Manilow version of Whipped Cream. And you've heard it here for the very first time on 98K UPD.
It goes like this.
Yes, you heard it here first on 98K UPD. Soon to be a collector's item, the Barry Manilow version of Whipped Cream.
It'll be out next year in the stores. The dance version will be out pretty soon, too.
The disco version.
Getting back to Catch-22 as a band, who is the main songwriter for the band?
There's two of them, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, Mike and myself are the two writers. And usually we're the ones that come up with the basic ideas, right? And it's like a checks and balance system. We write something, we refer to each other and see how it's turning out. And then we bring it to the rest of the band members, and they're the objective opinion. They can tell us what they think is good, what they think isn't.
Democracy.
Yeah, democracy. We work very much as a group, and it works real well.
It's mutual inspiration that we have with each other.
Yeah, we write off of each other.
Do one of you tend to be more of the lyric writer and one tend to be more of the music writer, or?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's 50-50. Sometimes, Steve will do something really good, and sometimes I'll do something really good with words or with music.
You never know how it's going to go.
For innocence in this world isn't quite as high as love is. For innocence in the part to bring you alive.
The 8K PD with Local 98 Rock. Curtis Johnson here with Catch 22. We just heard Her Innocence, a song that, well, is kind of a signature song in a way for you because of the fact that it features such superb harmonies. No, really, I'm serious. That's something that a lot of bands are hard pressed to do. Or harmonies. Is that something that has come naturally for you guys, or is that something that has taken a lot of work and sweat?
Actually, both.
Yeah.
It has to be natural to some degree. You have to have somewhat of a natural blend to start with, but once you start knowing each other's voices a lot better, you can start working on a blend that is more your own and can be an identifiable part of your sound. I think a lot of it also with us is we do it the old way, even the way like the Beatles used to do it, where they all stood around the microphone at the exact same time and sang it. They didn't overdub on different tracks. They sang it all around one mic.
Instead of like today, you'll hear a lead singer singing with himself, harmonizing with himself.
No, we use our own vocals. Everybody does the harmonies. That's what distinguishes your sound, having other people singing with you.
Yeah, you can get your own trademark by having your own sound like that, as long as you can pull it off live.
Now, that's the thing that I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
A band that is very well known for their harmonies is Crosby, Stills, Nash. And I've been to concerts with Crosby, Stills, Nash, and I've seen them blow a few harmonies. Are you guys able to come off with that pretty consistently?
Yeah, sometimes we crack a...
any musician out there knows that a lot of it depends on what kind of monitor system you have. And if we have an adequate monitor system, we usually...
And a good sound check.
We can usually pull them off, and that's the ultimate test right there.
The sign of a mature band.
Yes.
Also. Well, thank you guys for dropping by the studio tonight. We're pretty much out of time right now. I wish we could talk more. But thanks for dropping by. Catch 22 on Local 98 Rock.